Hello, everybody out there in Daily Motion World. This is your good buddy DJ Clive, the RANMA 1/2 character profile guy, coming to you again with yet another commentary on two of the profiles with the strangest soundtracks I have ever devised. This is the Frog Hermit and the Niku Men profiles, both of which were part of two really big specials that I did a while back. Frog Hermit was part of RANMA Ween, if I remember, and the Niku Men was part of Bit Character Month 2, probably my biggest theme month of all time. These characters kind of had their own visual flair. They don't look anything like the other characters in this series. They look very cartoony, very short and squatty, almost like they're not even human. So obviously I had to score this profile a little bit differently to go with the characters. And I turned to old-fashioned, old-school game music, which I am a very, very big fan of since my younger days. I'd say even when this retro music wasn't retro, I was still finding ways to get this stuff recorded and listen to it at my leisure. Back in the day, I used to hook my NES or my SNES, my Sega Genesis up to a box radio using the little red and white jacks, and I would just tape them onto audio cassette, and I just listened to them all day on a Walkman. I was really, really high on that stuff, and I still am to this day. It's a little bit easier to get game music now, but also still at the same time a little bit tricky, because you can't really... I mean, there are some MP3s out there if you search for them, but for the most part, all the soundtracks to every game you've ever played in your youth, they're out there, but you won't be able to get MP3s for them all because they're very, very obscure. And each file, I mean, I don't claim to be an expert on this kind of stuff, but every system has its own file format, because I think it's just has something to do with the sound drivers, whatever the codecs that were used, you know, when scoring these things, and you know, just to make certain sounds work, you need certain types of files. And looking at them right now, I mean, the NES had NSF files, the Genesis had GYM files, the Commodore 64 had SID files, PlayStation had PSFs, even though a lot of those you can get as MP3s. Super Nintendo had SPC files, the Game Boy had GBS files, and the Master System and Game Gear had VGM files, which you could also get the Mega Drive on that. But yes, every system had a different kind of file that you couldn't really just click and play, just like a normal MP3. Like, you couldn't play it using Windows, you know, audio player or anything like that. You had to download specific players for each format, or do what I did, go to audiooverload.com. I think that's what it's called, Audio Overload, and that plays a whole bunch of different kinds. I don't think it played the SID files, you have to get a special one for that, but other than that, it plays all the different types of video game files. And of course, I still love to listen to these things at my leisure, and you can't really do that if you can't put these songs on your iPod, because unless they're a specific type of file, be it MP3 or WMA, like the different types of files, like your iPod wouldn't be able to play a SID file or a PSF. You had to do what I did, and you have to use an external CD drive to save them that way, and just do them in real time, which is a real pain in the buttocks. Especially since these musics just don't fade out or anything like that. You just have to kind of stand point and listen to them and wait for them to go their complete duration and then stop. Just like the old days when I used to record these things on audio cassette. So yeah, I have all these songs, I listen to them at my leisure. I suggest you do the same, because there's a whole world of music out there. A lot of the catchiest tunes I've ever heard in my lifetime have been video game tunes from the old days, old time like NES and Commodore 64. There's nothing like the sound of those systems. It's just so delightfully retro and really catchy, and I don't know, it's just a sound that even today people are trying to emulate it. There's something very, very cool about it. So as this profile comes to a close, I've barely said a thing about it. This is the Frog Hermit. He's, you know, there's really a whole lot, not really a whole lot to say about him. That's why his profile was so short. I think I pretty much said everything I needed to say. This profile was scored with the music of the NES and had some of my favorite songs like the toy store from Rescue Rangers, and what else was in there? Shadow Man's theme from Mega Man 3. So groovy, that theme. I love that theme. So funky, you know. I dare anybody not to listen to that song and not want to dance. That song just kicks ass. So I'm reminded of the ending of this one, a rather unique ending that I tacked on there, because it's always hard to come up with an ending for these things. And for this one, I decided to go biblical. Something I never ever do, and it's a very dicey thing. I'm surprised people didn't complain about it, where I paraphrase the whole chapter of Moses in the Bible when all those plagues came down to earth, and one of the plagues was the plague of Toad. And I thought that it fit really well with the motif, all the frogs jumping around, so I decided to write that into the old character and just stick the Frog Hermit's name, stick it in to the passages where it was necessary, and I think it worked out really good. It made him look really, really evil. But anyway, enough of that. I have a lot to say about this profile. I'm just remembering the strange way I went about tackling these characters, and that is the fact that I really showed my true colors when it comes to my feelings about the Niku men here. That they're just such strange characters, like they're so random. They almost didn't require any thought. It was like somebody was eating meat buns one day and envisioned faces on their meat buns and said, okay, these are characters, write up a script. And I think there's got to be some definite truth to that, and I decided to make that the focus of this profile, other than the unique music style, but I'll get to that in a moment. So yeah, I just listed a whole bunch of other instances where there were just random ideas just plucked from out of nowhere, in just different types of media, like the whole Stephen King thing that I couldn't believe when I read that story about the licorice and the superhero that shot wads of sticky licorice, and it was just, I don't know. Sometimes I just wonder what the heck people are thinking when they come up with these ideas, or if they even qualify as ideas. It's just like, all right, just empty your mind, and whatever the first thing pops into your head is, that's what we're gonna go with. And to me, the Niku men definitely had that vibe. A lot of times I think that it reflects Rumiko Takahashi's mood at the time, where some of these characters come from. Like, I bet you, like, she's just started getting into the Tea Party thing on her own when she decided to make characters about the martial arts tea ceremony and all that. I bet you she was walking through a museum one day and she learned about the Azura, and that's where she got the idea for Rouge. Maybe she was working on her penmanship one day, and that's where she came up with the idea for martial arts calligraphy. I bet you all these ideas were spawned from her hobbies and her, you know, her experiences in life. But anyway, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the music, the absolutely unique soundtrack to this profile. What you're hearing is the sounds of the Commodore 64, a very basic home computer system from my youth. The mid to late 80s I had one. And it wasn't really so much a computer as it was a kind of a game system that you could hook up to like a printer, and just very, very elemental, almost Atari level games. But the sound engine on this thing was absolutely amazing. I'll never forget the music from some of these games that I played on this system. Nothing like the music pumping from the SID engine. And I thought that it worked very, very well with these characters. And it was always in my mind that I wanted to use Commodore 64 music to soundtrack one of these profiles. I just didn't have the characters yet. and I thought that these characters, it fit very, very well. A lot of the different musics you hear. The first one was a remix from the game Spy vs. Spy, which is based on the old Mad Magazine characters. There's a really nifty remix of the Double Dragon theme that I used in this profile, as well as a song from a Rambo game, which I highly recommend the soundtrack to that one. If you can get your hands on that, even if you look it up on YouTube, I'm sure they have Commodore 64 music up on there. Just listen to this music. It is the most unique sounds. I could picture today's electronica groups like Daft Punk getting a lot of ideas from these people, because this is just amazing, just very, very, you won't find sounds like these anywhere else. And this is just a small sampling of the vast library that is the sounds of the Commodore 64. Not just the unique sound engine, but even the melodies, the very unique melodies, some of the best game music I've ever heard. And that's saying a lot, because today's games are all orchestral, and they're all MP3s, and they don't even have really a sound engine. They're all done in studios. But still, I prefer the sounds of these games from yesteryear. If you are ever to get into Commodore 64 music, the two titans, I believe, at least in my mind, are a guy by the name of Rob Hubbard and another guy by the name of Martin Galway. Now, Ron Hubbard's themes are really, really deep and really, really energetic. A lot of the more popular ones are Commando, Monty on the Run, which is being played in the background right now. Skate or Die is probably his biggest one. Dragon's Lair Part 2, not to be confused with the first one. And, of course, The Immortal, a game that I'm more familiar with on Sega Genesis than I am for the Commodore 64, but all great themes and all great soundtracks, all worth a listen. As for Galway, his biggest games, at least the ones that I played, Yar Kung Fu, Green Beret, the Rambo game, which has an amazing soundtrack, often looked at as one of the biggest soundtracks ever, and the Ocean Loader song, which I have used in multiple profiles. I used remixes of it as a theme for Hinako ni no Miya. So these are songs that continue to pay dividends well into my later years in RANMA profiling. As I'm watching this profile, this part of the profile is very, very fun to do. I always like to do something to keep the viewer's eyes busy and give them reason to go back and rewind and fast forward and pause and just saying, ooh, what was there? Oh, what was that? Oh, he stuck that in. That's just me going over all sorts of different ideas in history that maybe weren't so much great ideas. A lot of thought didn't go into them. That was my point to it. That pretty much anybody could have come up with those characters, and I just went around Google and searched out all those pictures, and I probably could have went so much further with that, because there are so many things, especially in the WWE right now, which required no thought whatsoever. I probably should have put Brock Lesnar's recent push as part of stuff that required no effort. And so I have reached the end of yet another RANMA 1/2 character profile commentary. This is your good buddy DJ Clive, the RANMA 1/2 character profile guy, bidding you adieu from the world of Daily Motion. And this time I really felt like I was babbling a little on this commentary. I hope I didn't bore you all to death. You think I'd be getting a little bit better at this, but maybe I'm starting to run out of things to talk about. But, like I said, I use this as an exercise to maybe talk a little bit better when I do future profiles and projects, and as you can see, it does me no good. So anyway, that's it for another week, and hope you enjoyed this little commentary. Go out and look for Commodore 64 and Nintendo music, any kind of old school 8-bit, 16-bit music. It's awesome. Come on, this is DJ Clive, your RANMA 1/2 character profile guy. Would I ever steer you wrong? Go and look at the stuff, listen to it, and you won't be disappointed. So that's it from me. life is RANMA, guys. Hope you enjoyed.